Or is this like Asian?
During lunch, I tried the Northern Sumatra unique fruit juice.
Oh, you tried it?
Yeah, and it tasted like a like I think who Janelle made the the joke that like they just dumped all the extra juice they had inside because it tasted a lot like it tasted a lot
Everything.
like everything like kiwi,
I thought it
jambu,
tasted like watermelon.
watermelon,
Yeah.
strawberry. It just had everything.
And they put milk in it
But
apparently.
it tasted good. I finished it in like 12
I
seconds.
I drank quinny juice. Like it's
Oh yeah,
mango but not mango. It's
I tried some.
it's very creamy and thick and delicious.
It's
It's so
good.
good.
Okay, what else? But everything is so cheap in Meulaboh. I'm quite bless you.
No,
I'm
thank
quite
you.
surprised by how cheap everything is. Our juice was like less than $1,
But their
and
whole way of life is different
the
over
cost
there.
of living is definitely much lower than Singapore, which is quite
It's
refreshing
it's almost
actually.
like they don't want to go ahead on the totem pole because I was
I don't think they don't want to. I think
feel the need.
they don't have a choice. They're just this is their way of life now, and I don't know, like such a big change there, or such a kicking start, such a long term and gradual process. It's much more difficult to
And
them.
yeah,
Yeah,
as in like Harris and I were also talking to a camera about this, like the idea that they seem to be ready for a change at any point in time because of the way in
yeah.
which they live. They don't build up so high that everything can crash and burn again. Literally,
Mm.
they live in one room flats, like
But
I mentioned it before to
but
Karis's
what I
video.
learned about Chinese people is that um a lot of them don't go out looking for change. They just or change or like information, for example, information
Mm.
about like disaster readiness programs. They just wait for the information to come to them. They don't put in much effort
I
to
guess they are
go out
resourceful
there.
in other ways, and then
Yeah.
they're resourceful for things they need, and things that they think they can deal with, they just
Mm.
deal with on their own as opposed to getting help. Like the disaster risk management thingy, not many people actually know what's going on with regards to that. They're only like one of the people that we interviewed. He said that there are only 30 people in the community who actually know what they're doing in terms of that.
Mm.
Yeah, just kind of sad.
Okay, what are we talking about?
Reflections again.
No, after juice.
The
Oh,
people,
cost of living. Yeah,
cost of
okay.
living, yes.
What did we do after lunch?
After lunch,
We
we went
came
to
back to the
interview
hotel.
and
We came back to the
planned our
hotel.
session, I think, right? Did we plan anything?
We came back to the hotel, and then
Kelly had a bath again.
I had another bath
Kelly has a bath like at every
every
interval.
interval.
And I'm just like, Kelly's so clean. Yeah.
And then we went out, and then um,
Interview started, I think.
yeah, because the boys weren't there yet. We
So
met.
our group changed
Yeah,
a
group
bit.
change
A
again.
bit.
Compared to having Siti, Jimmy, and Afif yesterday. But I think yesterday's session was quite good because we kind of like we had a system after a while. System of interviewing, which I thought was quite good. Like Afif would interview, and like
Jimmy and
he
City
was
would look kind of
Afif was good in managing the situation. Like he was good in controlling the interview, and he was sensitive, and he knew the right questions to ask, and then Jimmy and Siti would translate it to us, and I thought the interviews yesterday were quite
alright.
productive. Yeah,
As in, we thought they were alright until like we kind of read back on them. We
yeah.
got less information out of the interviews a few days uh, on the first day as opposed to the information that
We
we
had
got
today,
today.
because today Kriti and I were paired with Siti
City
and
and
Dina,
Dina.
and Miss Julia followed us, and then after the first interview we conducted, actually before that I kind of knew that Dina and Siti weren't sure
Of what
of
to do.
what to do, who was going to take the lead or who was going to control the whole
Actually, I've
interview.
been feeling like that quite a bit through this trip because I feel like I know what I'm doing, but they don't know what they're doing.
Mm.
And I mean, they have this, they know what they're doing, but they don't get what we want them to do in a way. Like, there's a different understanding of the goal of the project in terms of what I feel is going on, because there's a communication barrier that is very, very hard to break. I mean, when you break it with simplistic, normal things that teens talk about, it's fine. But when it comes to this project, right, I feel like it's a bit harder because we don't know what they're saying and they don't know sometimes what we are saying too, which is very, very hard to get through. And I really feel like the teams need to like constantly be reshuffled and to be evaluated. Not just them, but us too. Then we need to reevaluate our performance as well. So it's a very crucial part of this whole process to like be able to accommodate change because there's so many instances when nothing has been going the way it's supposed to be going. So I guess it's a learning thing. It's a very big learning curve.
And then from the interviews today, we interviewed let's
Three
see.
people. Didn't we do three people
We
or
did
two?
two.
Two. I think the second one was very interesting actually.
The second one was interesting.
Because he was one of the few males that we interviewed as well. Not everybody's an Ibu here.
we interviewed Saripa and Taufik, and along with Miss Julia. Our first interview of Saripa, everything was not on track. Like the questions weren't
hard to
asked in order,
trace.
and Miss Julia actually like whispered to me that they weren't actually following the order. So, and I think Cutie and I tried to ask some questions to
Try and get it back in order.
to get back on track, and but Miss Julia and the lady from the other
Ibu Foundation.
no, she wasn't from Ibu, she was from something else. She's
Sure.
from another NGO. Fikrin, I'm not sure what her name was, but she was after that the lady briefed Siti and Dina about what they should improve on, and Miss Julia was actually talking to Kirti and I that like they miss the whole like they tell us the salient points but they miss the whole they like leave the whole story behind. Like they will ask a question and then the the tsunami victim will actually paint the whole picture, but they only like they summarize the whole thing into a few phrases and they hand it over to us.
They really understood this survey as a very objective, quantitative sort of thing. Not quantitative per se, but like you get the main points and just give them the info, as opposed to what we kind of want to do is to evaluate it as well.
I guess so.
So they kind of do our part in summarizing it. So it's a bit hard to like understand the whole story for some of the cases. But like once Miss Julia realized that there was a bit of a problem there, she kind of helped us to get through the next interview. So it was much, much better in terms of getting information. But like we still need to work out a system for tomorrow, depending on who we get to work with tomorrow. Yeah.
No, we're working individually tomorrow.
Yeah. I'm gonna go to the storybooks video site.
But anyway, Miss Julia also said that she was telling us that Siti was actually quite insensitive in asking the questions because Saripa's husband, the first Ibu we interviewed, was actually quite disturbed by talking about the tsunami. But of course we didn't pick up on that because we weren't following exactly what Saripa and her husband were saying.
They spoke in our Chinese.
And
even Dina didn't understand that.
Yeah, and then he was quite traumatized by it, and then Miss Julia told us afterwards, but yet Siti kept probing and
I think
pushing
she
her
wanted the
point,
answers
pushing her
to
point
tell
across.
us, yeah.
But so that was just something I observed, and then like that caused me to think about the interviews we did yesterday. If
by any chance any of them were unwilling to talk to us.
Yeah. But from today's interviews in total, like with the session with Taufik and like with Miss Julia helping us along and translating, Miss Julia actually sat between the Archinese youth and like the SOTA students, right smack in the middle to translate everything, and she did a very good job. Like she translated like all the details and everything,
And it was
and we
so
got we
comfortable.
got like a much a fuller picture of the Taufik's story and his answers. And she was also joking around a bit with the other lady from the other NGO, and like I think loosened him up a bit, because at first he was a bit apprehensive about telling us his story about the tsunami, but I think after towards the end of the interview he opened up, and we managed to get a lot of information out of him that was very beneficial to our project.
I think this whole act of going down to collect information from the ground is kind of making me think about how people do this in other situations. Like, there's so many things to consider and to make sure that, we get information, but is it reliable, accurate enough, or how do we present the data to the person who needs it, and will the person who take it actually use it in a way that is ethical and that will help improve the life of the citizens? Because we did have a very interesting conversation with the teachers last night regarding corruption and the idea of corruption, and like even that makes me think about how this information could be manipulated, because no matter how hard we work on the information and give it to the person, we don't really know what the person's going to do with it, because it's just data after all. So I mean, like, I really hope that this project helps them, as opposed to making things worse, which probably won't happen, or like leaving things the way they are right now, because some of them can improve their lifestyle in terms of the resources they have to earn money for their household or whatever. But others are quite well off, as we saw like the day before, the guy with, like, I don't know, two motorcycles in the house and this super fancy room. And so it is really about the balance, and I think it's really important to take time to understand each household, because everybody faced different situations. They all got hit by the tsunami, but the degree to which they were affected and got the aid is so different. It kind of shocks me that people in the same village got like so many differing things going on. I was just wondering what it would be like to be a person working for the NGO during the disaster itself. Because, I mean, I can imagine the utter chaos and you trying to help and also preserve an image for your NGO that, our NGO does good, as opposed to like messing things up. And I just feel like, I don't know, there's a lot more planning that needs to go into these kind of things. But like, where do you get the time from, and do you like plan for things like this ahead, and just like, oh, when it happens you take up plan A, and let's go and do this. But and then part that it talked about how like the land deeds and everything were washed away too. So it's just like so many things to take into account. And it finally struck me that this was all real and people actually went through that. And because when you hear about tsunami on the news, it's kind of just a big wave that hit other people and didn't really impact your life, other than the fact that you might have donated money for them. But like, coming here makes it all so real. Kind of makes you realize that Singapore really is in a bubble,
Mm.
in a very big bubble.